Good morning, Jake. How you doing?
Good, bud. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's good to see you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's great going out and seeing family and being with family. But man, flying East Coast to West Coast in like 3, 4 days, uh, and hanging out with my mom and dad. I mean, they're almost 70. They're nearly 70, and they wear me out. So I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, or I need to start drinking whatever they're drinking because I'm tired. I am tired, man.
Got to do some more TT.
Yeah. So,
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 59 of the Coffee Squad podcast. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about COVID 1 year later.
Really, bud?
It's been a while since we've officially talked about it, and hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel, depending on who you listen to or what you read. So.
I do. I mean, we're a little bit past a year with this. I think this time last year, Will, we talked a lot about it, and we didn't know. We were trying to see what the changes are, what's going to happen. I think, a little bit past a year into this, we're seeing that.
Yeah, hopefully. I know the governor of our state came out and said hopefully by June 1st we might ease up on the mask mandates, which will be, not that I go out or do anything, but it'll be nice not to have to wear it when I do go out. So
yeah.
It makes my beard itchy.
I just shaved mine, but it's growing back. So
it's better than that Fu Manchu you had last week.
That thing was beautiful. Don't hate. So let's go through the normal weekly thing. Ray, as you're taking a sip there of your little fancy coffee mug, what are you drinking, man?
I'm drinking Black Rifle coffee or die. So it's a nice medium roast, light blend. It's just good, even, not acidic. Pick me up in the morning. It's only my third cup, so I'm doing good today.
Dude, I don't see how you're not like scratching your neck and having the jitters right now. But now I've seen you like shaking your head and do everything else. So maybe, man, maybe I had to get all pumped up for this because you and I.
I also got I probably should have had decaf this morning, but that's just, that's like having a truck and not having 4-wheel drive. But anyways, I also have a sparkling water in honor of you with a grapefruit sparkling water. So what are you drinking today?
Will, you could have had any other flavor in honor of me, but you picked grapefruit. You're a real jerk. I got other words for you, but
I could have had passion fruit, but I didn't think that'd be appropriate.
Hey, I'm a passionate kind of guy. What can I say? What am I drinking, man? I'm drinking some White Lightning or Arctic White energy drink, man. I'm telling you, I'm on this Alani Nu kick, but it's pretty good. So, and then of course I am drinking just the Prove It keto blend,
keto, whatever.
Yeah, blend water. So that's what I'm drinking, man. A good friend got me onto this, childhood friend actually, and so I actually enjoy it, and it tastes good. So, yeah, if anyone's on that keto diet or wants to get on it, it kind of just helps keep you in ketosis. Even though I totally fell off the wagon going out to California, so I don't know. My parents aren't diabetic either, man. They eat so much candy.
Well, kind of since we brought it up, being in California stuff, how are things looking out there? I know we're on the opposite coast, so it's a little bit different over there than it is over here. So kind of give us your overview as we move into today's topic.
I'm not going to do that, man. I don't think if my mom listens to this, she's not going to want to ever talk to me again. I tell you what, so
just the facts, no opinion. How about that?
So I grew up in Sacramento, right? And I'd say California's always had, what we called when I was younger, a homeless problem in San Francisco was probably one of the worst in LA. Bro, it's like it's a third world country in some of those parts, man. You drive along the freeway, there's like little homeless encampments there with 20 plus tents, trash, piles of trash thrown on the street. I just don't see how a state with some of the highest taxes, and a beautiful state, man. I guess that's what's kind of disheartening to me. It's so beautiful that you see this, all the trash, I mean, look, I get it. People fall in rough times. We're going to talk about COVID and the hard times. Let me bring my collar down so I don't look like I'm from California popping the dang thing. But
You got the
You know,
hair. It's all right.
pot. I totally lost train of thought there, but I got people falling hard times, right? But man, it's kind of disheartening to see it, and you see it just kind of closing in and in. And I'm not an expert in the homeless issue, so I'm not even going to go there. But I don't know. I wonder if drugs have a large part to do in it, and mental illness as well. So it's
Well, I
definitely
think
an issue.
California, with the weather in California, I think that kind of draws that population because it is fairly temperate, so they don't have to deal with the extremes like you do in other parts of the country. So I think that's part of it. I don't know.
What else?
California, if you succeed, what are they like? If California became its own country, they would still be the sixth or eighth richest country in the world or something like that. So I mean,
one of the largest economies, but
yeah,
you don't see it.
No.
On the outside looking in. And don't get me wrong, man. There's beautiful places. It's great. You just see that. I guess the bubble, right? And I sound like an old person right now, man. I really do. Like my dad used to be like, "Oh, we drive, out by the airport."
Off my grass.
Well, just like, oh man, I remember when this was just fields and just this and just that. And there's a big expansion growth that's happening in Sacramento, and it has been happening probably for the last 20 plus years. But definitely different. But with that, let's talk about travel and COVID and kind of what I saw. I think the last 2 weeks I've traveled to Texas and back, California and back now. And I've traveled throughout with COVID,
I went to Montana a few months ago. So, I mean, we've both done a little bit of traveling.
And I would say like at the heart of COVID, before the mask mandate went in, I remember in March last year, I was in LA when everything was shutting down and I flew back. And then I traveled a few months later with a mask mandate and I saw, and I don't care. Look, I don't care if you wear a mask. I don't care if you don't wear a mask. I don't care if you wear gloves. I don't care if you wear a face shield. I don't care if you wear anything or nothing. To me, it's a personal choice, and that's just me. I don't want to get political here or any, but it's going to go political, and I know that. I see your face right now, and and because there's a difference of opinion, right? And that's what I think is a sad part. No one knows the truth. But back to the travel and the plane, I think more people are calm enough to travel. And I'll tell you, like flying United. So I flew United out to Texas, direct flight out there, and United packs everyone in on the plane. There isn't a middle seat. You sit in first class. You sit right next to someone. Same with American. You fly Delta, unless you're a family traveling together, or the other person. They'll put you next to each other. But if you fly, if you don't know them, so you sit in first class, the seats are empty, the seat next to you, and they keep the middle row seat. I tell you, and I've said this before, pack your own food. Delta does a decent job. They give these little, I should have saved it, a little snack box. That's not bad. And Delta's bringing back the beverage carts. Other airlines aren't. So I think it's airline dependent. I also think, the airlines took a major hit. And so how are they going to save money? One thing I will say is you have to wear a mask.
Yep.
And they blatantly put that out, while you're in the airport, while you're sitting there, while you're on the airplane, they're going to remind you. And if you have a problem, they're also politely going to tell you, look, if you're not wearing your mask fully,
bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. You can take a different flight or take Amtrak, I guess, or something else.
Yep.
So,
and you have to have an actual mask. Can't do bandanas or gaiters or anything like that either.
Yeah. Some allow you to do neck gaiters. Some airlines,
okay.
Delta does the full neck gaiter. Other airlines didn't, but of course,
American did for me. So,
so I'd say what I've seen is this, like with everything, right? When anything's first new and it's scary, you see this pendulum swing. And I always see that pendulum starting to swing back more center. And I think as a country now, we're starting to see, okay, we're close to the normal, but we're not out of the woods yet. And we're not in crisis mode yet. So it was there. One thing I definitely say is don't cough. I mean, it's allergy season around the country. Here in North Carolina, where I live in the Pines, man, there's so much thick green dust, pollen, but man, if you cough on the plane or you sneeze, and you cough a little bit or a lot, which I did, bro, it's like
Yeah, but you
farting.
know,
It's like farting in church during like the best sermon ever, and everyone's
yeah.
just looking at you like,
I don't know. When
the
I was in the
exorcism
airport, if
start
somebody
happening.
started sitting next to me, I started coughing so they get away. So I didn't have anybody near me. So, you know, it does have a benefit of it. Get away.
Well, you're just a jerk, you know.
I've been called worse. It's all right.
Um, so,
But
I
now, how
mean,
is Texas compared to California? Because Texas doesn't have their mask mandate anymore. That lifted when I was down there flying through. So
yeah. So I'll tell you. So they don't. And I was in Houston and south of Houston. Then I went up to the Austin area, and then I went to Dallas. So the three kind of major city populations there in Texas, and it's all dependent. So I hate wearing.
I think a lot of it, yeah, a lot of it depends on
it
like
out
corporate
there.
headquarters.
Yeah, so I literally hate wearing a mask. If I don't have to wear it, I'm not going to wear it. You guys can crucify me, and we can have that discussion there. But if a store requires me to wear it, I'm not going to argue with it. I wear it. Again, I support the freedom of stores and small businesses, even large businesses. So if they ask me to wear it, I'm not going to get in an argument. I'll wear it. If they don't ask, I'm not going to wear it. But I would say it depends on where you are in Texas. The Austin area and the city areas, I'd say you saw a 50-50 mix, but most stores still required you to asked you to wear the mask, even in some of the small towns. So I would say there's a huge difference. When I'm outside, I don't wear a mask. That's just me, whether I'm in Texas or California. Me walking with one leg, I figure that's exercise enough for me, so I'm exercising. And again, that's all debatable depending on who you talk to. But yeah. So
yeah, I know when I went to Montana, the large city or town, whatever you want to call it, it's not that big. Everybody had masks on. All the stores were doing it, enforcing it. Once you got out to the smaller, more rural areas, no, it was a handful. I could probably count on one hand the number of masks I saw the whole weekend I was there. So
yeah, and I think people are getting more comfortable. Again, I said this just a little bit ago, but the pandemic, like COVID's real, right? I mean, you brought up some numbers, Will. So let's talk about those numbers, and we'll talk about kind of what we see so far.
All right. Well, I mean, just, looking at the CDC and a couple other websites this morning, population in the U.S. is approximately 33 million people. And out of that 33 million, there has been about 32 million cases, which is, I mean, I had to take off my shoes to count, but it should work out about 10% of the population, or less than, about 10% of the population, right? So out of the 10%, we've had almost 570,000 deaths, positive cases, or I don't know if we want to get into those numbers or not, because my math might not be coherent with other ones. Depending on what website you look at, what numbers you look at, the mortality rate is somewhere between 0.02 and 1.8% of positive cases. So it just kind of depends on where you look and get your information from. And without seeing the data and the statistics from the source, just going off the different websites, it's hard to make hard to determine exactly which one's is which, but somewhere between 0.2 and 2% is the mortality rate, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but as fast as this virus spreads and as, I don't know, devil's advocate, it could be because of the mass that we're not worse off than we are. You go to other countries like Brazil and Italy in the beginning, they were really bad. So,
yeah. And I mean, maybe because I am biased, because I do think the U.S. is the greatest country, and I'm biased because I'm a citizen of this country, just like you are, Will. I've traveled all around the world and seen some other beautiful, wonderful countries. But if you look at the testing rate, you look at the vaccine rate, we lead the rest of the world in all of that. And so I would expect to see the U.S. do a little bit better. I was having this conversation too about data and numbers. When you look at data and you try to have an argument, well, you have to have pure data. And so how that data is inputted on both sides of the And I don't want to get in an argument over. I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm not even going to think of it, but get an argument over the data, because to me, the data is skewed on both sides. You have your anti-COVID, anti-masker, which I am not one of those. And then you have the full-fledged data people on the other side. And to me, it's turned political. And I've said this before on the show before. You talk to one doc, I have one doc who tells me, look, man, make sure your vitamin D, vitamin K, and your testosterone and all that other stuff is up to help fight off this vaccine, and you're good. And I have another doc who works in his same office say, look, man, I see it. It's real. Glove up, mask up, do everything you can to get to stay away from it. So, and I have friends on both sides who've had it, who've had loved ones pass away from it. So I don't. The numbers to me, I think it depends on what websites you go to and which ones you see. One that I've constantly used is Johns Hopkins University. I think they've done a really good job in the beginning. They've kind of mapped it out. I remember this time last year, we were looking at the map of where it was in China, then going over to Europe, Italy, the UK, and then we started seeing the small pockets of red. And now if you look at the global map, I mean, basically everywhere except for Antarctica, Russia, and parts of China and Africa.
Well, that's probably because they're not reporting. Well,
yeah. Well,
with the exception of Antarctica,
there's not a whole lot of people.
They've probably been quarantined, and so
I mean, I guess what I want to focus on the show is kind of the good,
that'll be a change.
No, but seriously, if we look at like the vaccine, right, and how fast the vaccine, have you gotten the vaccine shot?
Huh?
Have you gotten the vaccine? On? Yeah. No. Hey, I haven't. I'm not going to lie. I've been around for a year. I haven't had it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get it, or maybe I did have it. It was mild. But I know at some point I'm going to have to get it. The way that work is starting to pick up. And as I start traveling more, and especially going international, I'm going to have to get it. I really was waiting on the Johnson & Johnson one. I've been calling the pharmacies here, waiting on that. Now that there's a pause, hopefully they work that out. But
well, from everything I've read, they said the other two are actually more effective. The mRNA or DNA, whatever mRNA ones, they're more effective combating and building antibodies than the J&J one. So
yeah, and I think let's talk about this
for what it's worth.
I mean, my brother had a horrible reaction to the Moderna one, on his second shot. My parents, who are 20 plus years older than him, no reaction. And so, if you look at like the 6 severe adverse cases of the Johnson & Johnson out of the 7 million people, to me, it goes back to those numbers too of the rarity. So I think here in the U.S., again, this is off of Johns Hopkins. I'm on their website right now. But people that are fully vaccinated, the percentage, some of the highest states are roughly at 32%. I think Alaska right now, just looking right now, percentage of population that's fully vaccinated. Again, this is on the Johns Hopkins website. There's 33.6%. So Alaska is leading the charge in vaccinations. I would think, it'd probably be more like a California or a New York. And then behind that is New Mexico, just over 30%, Hawaii, South Dakota, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Maine. Honestly, Jersey, Massachusetts is leading New York. New York is, I don't know, I can't count that fast, but probably around 15 to 20.
I think Kumo has other issues on his plate right now.
Well, but I mean, North Carolina, we are actually beating California in the vaccine race of people that are fully vaccinated, not just have the first shot, but are fully vaccinated. So, and that's percentage of the population.
Yeah.
Now, people, which is weird. So California, if you look at people that are fully vaccinated. They lead with 9.2, a little over 9.2 million people that are fully vaccinated. Then Texas, then New York, then Florida, then Pennsylvania. Again, actually, North Carolina is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. North Carolina is 8 as far as people fully vaccinated. And we have one of the smaller populations as far as the state goes. So, yeah. So, Will, you're messing up the numbers, bud. Go get your shot.
I'm not messing up the numbers.
You are. Go get your shot.
So, right after you. Ladies first.
I will. And then if you look again on the Johns Hopkins website, man, if you look at percentage of countries that are vaccinated, that are fully vaccinated, the U.S. has everyone beat by a long shot. And I do reports for clients of kind of what some of the threats are to them. And let's face it, COVID is a threat to a lot of my clients in the industry, certain industries that they're in. And so I was just doing this report right now. South Korea was awesome at the beginning of COVID. And these are the good things I want to talk about, right? Like because we've had such a strong allied relationship with them, they had a lot of the PPE stuff. They had a lot of the masks, the gloves and stuff. And they shipped over and flew over tons of the PPE gear to the U.S. And now they're asking the U.S. to, hey, help us out with the vaccines, because Pfizer, Moderna coming out of here, out of the U.S., helping them out. And then Mexico, too. There was discussions. So right now, South Korea and the U.S. are in discussions of sharing the vaccine. Same with Mexico. There's discussions of the administration and the Mexican government administration of sharing the vaccine down there. And there's rumors, and again, these are rumors, nothing out there that it would help with the border. You know, hey, we'll ship down or loan you. It was a loan if you help with the border crisis, and that's a discussion for another time, Will. So,
all right,
you're laughing because I'm baiting you right now.
You are trying to. So affected businesses. You know, I know I don't know how it is over there, but I know where I'm at. A lot of the small businesses are having a hard time getting people to come back to work. They're having a hard time hiring people, and I think part of that is they're making more money sitting at home.
Yes, I think that's part of it. I shouldn't say. I also think
I'm waiting you.
You know, small businesses were totally affected by this. Totally. Yep. I have a good buddy in the hospitality business, Michael Bonardes. Great dude. Who began his career in the hospitality business as a dishwasher, went to Georgetown. But he writes some really interesting articles on the hospitality industry and the small restaurants and how they've been affected. And Michael, if you're listening, I'm totally going to mess up what you wrote about. You can find it in blueprintfuture.com, one of his articles. But I want to say the number he kind of put out there was somewhere between 80 and 90% of small restaurants, of your smaller mom and pop restaurants, which is a large part of the restaurant industry, aren't going to be able to come back from the pandemic.
So I know one of my favorite restaurants already closed down. They're not coming back. So,
but and then he also writes about, you know, what some restaurants did. I mean, there's some restaurants in Seattle that put up these, I'm going to butcher, it's some type of awesome tent system, which is like separate for like individuals and families to do. But so he wrote some great articles, blueprintfuture.com, about what, you know, restaurants have done in some of these more highly populated areas where the virus has affected them. So again, positivity is disaster strikes the human mind and the American people. You know, how do we overcome it?
Yeah.
And how do we kind of make that work around? I can tell you in the chemical industry, we're doing security for a firm, you know, how they came about it. And they had COVID cases. They were worried about a plant shutting down if it ran through, and, you know, what they did. And I was visiting one of the plants, you know, the masks, the hand washing stations, everything there. the temperature screening, all that. And so for them, making sure their employees were safe and taking care of their employees also benefited them on the back end for producing the product that went out. So,
well, luckily here, I don't know how it is in other countries, but here we have, technology at most people's fingertips. So you're able to get like the big box stores were able to do a lot of online type shopping. You have Amazon and all that stuff that it just exploded with online shopping and stuff being delivered to your front door. And so did like Uber Eats and Grubhub and all those other ones. I can't think. I know there's a bunch of them out there now.
Yeah.
I think those, that was kind of one way that people did the workaround. And now I don't know how it's going to look like in a year with a lot of those companies, but hopefully they, the ones that are doing that, they still are around because it was a good business idea. But I know me personally, I would rather go to the restaurant than have it delivered to my house.
Yeah, but again, there's that ingenuity, right? The looking at a problem, seeing how it affected. I mean, let's face it, Uber, Lyft, when travel is affected, they're affected. So, what do they do? They got in the food delivery business, right? And I'm sure their numbers are hurting, but I can tell you what, the airports, to me, seem like they're back almost to normal. Flights are nearly full. I don't know if that's because, the airlines have scaled back the number of flights.
I think that has something to do with it. And I also think that more people, like you said, are more comfortable in travel. I know when I traveled, like 3 of the 4 flights I had were slam packed, like no room, no extra things. But I mean, one flight wasn't. But yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with flights my original flight was canceled and they moved everybody to the night flight. So I ended up spending like 12 hours at DFW, which, it's a nice airport, but I could have spent my time better. But I think, like, as far as the airline industry, so I think they're going to start seeing more people travel, more bounce back. So I've already heard of, like, down here, they're trying to add more flights to the airport. So that's good. That's a good sign.
Absolutely.
So going into security, since, this is kind of our bread and butter, what have you seen about the change in security and how security industry has reacted to COVID, especially, I know we have on here a couple of different things, so I'll let you talk about what your views are, and then we'll move on to that.
So last year, as going out and doing security consulting, I would say it was tough, to say the least. No one wanted to let someone in to their facility because of the fear of spreading COVID. Again, I have one client that had a case, and they're like, "Look, we want you to come out right away." And I think that's what I'm starting to see more as a security consultant out there, is more people are now. I would say kind of what we had on the books last year. It was they wanted the security assessments, risk assessments, stuff like that done, but they wanted to pause. They wanted to wait till see what COVID did. At the beginning of this year, I would say the Band-Aid is slowly starting to come off. Again, the numbers have, I would say, mellow out a little bit. You're going to see, peaks and valleys depending on where and what's going on. But I'd say overall, the panic has mellowed out. And so on the security side, I see that we are ramping back up, ramping up quite fast, honestly. Which I'm excited about. Again, I think we're starting to go back to this. I don't know if it's a new normal. You're going to change. You're going to evolve with what's happened.
I hate that. The new
normal. I would say one of the negative side effects, and this is just my opinion, and we're starting to see with COVID, is especially a lot last year, is because people were either laid off, couldn't go to work, or working from home, they had more idle time. And I'm sure this quote, "Idle hands are of the devil," right? And so to me, again, just my opinion, kind of looking at what happened. And I'm not saying COVID is the cause of this and idle hands are of this, and then you look at events that happened last year. um, with the Floyd case and other events. To me, it allowed more people to sit home, not just get on social media and get with like-minded people, but then read more articles and dive down into almost like extremist isn't the right word, but kind of plant themselves more on the one side than the other.
It's easy to fall down that rabbit hole. You start watching one thing and then you watch another thing that's, you started up at one level and then you kind of fall down that ladder or that hole into where you start really thinking, man, and I can see where it's a slippery slope to kind of one way or the other, I mean, whatever. I hate politicians. I think they're all worthless. But whatever. I mean, politics is
Well, I'm
nothing.
running for office, Will.
All right. Good luck with that.
You're going to hate me now. I'm kidding. I'm not, but
you're not going to get elected with because anyways.
But going down the rabbit hole, right? So I think we saw more people go down the rabbit hole on every single side, and I think we saw those manifestations play out over the year, and they're still starting to play out.
Wow.
So whether it's a lot with the riots on both sides, so we see that happening of people really like. I'd say the bad actors that you see on the news. I would say everyone for that part.
I think the news is stoking the fire.
Oh, 100%. That's how they get paid.
You look at. I don't want. I mean, I'll move on. I don't want to get started.
So I think that's a negative part, and I think last year, we are not in the executive protection security guard industry. But there was a large need for that last year. I got numerous calls from media organizations for executive protection when an event was happening. If we had people, luckily I have great connections out there and some phenomenal people like Joe LaSorsa, who's been on the show and been able to pass that business on to him and his crew, who handled it wonderfully. Restaurants in cities and small businesses in cities where there's riots going on.
Yeah.
Living close to Raleigh and Charlotte and seeing that and helping small business owners. So we saw that, you look at the price of wood and glass right now, it's still really high. And not the only reason, but one of the reasons is because the cities and because having to board up, having to repair glass and stuff because of everything of that happening. So that's, I guess, one of the negative side effects to me of people going down these rabbit holes and basically self-radicalizing themselves online because of they have the time on their hands, right? Yeah. I don't have time to go out and riot or hang out all night.
Peaceful protest, Jake. Peaceful protest.
Sure. Go out and do that. And I'm not against the protest, right? I don't care if you're protesting that.
Sure, Rich, you're right. I don't give a crap about that.
If Booger Eater should have a right, sure, go ahead, do that.
Just when you smash the window of a store and start stealing stuff, that's where I have an issue. But anyways.
So I would say that was one of the negative side effects because people had more time on their hands.
Well, yeah, they had more time, but I still think they were instigated. And I mean, you look at something that happened a couple of days ago up in Columbus, the headlines read one thing, and it just got everybody in a frenzy. Then it came out what really happened, and they did a little blurb at the end of an article, edited, oh, we should have said this. Well, nobody reads that. They just read the headlines. They just get in a frenzy, and nobody pays attention to anything after the fact. They only see what they want to see, and it just anyways. All right.
Well, you need a hug.
I need something, yeah. So we're getting close to the end of the lockdowns. We talked about service industry, airports, vaccines. What do you think about the vaccine passports? Do you think that's going to – I know coming back into the country from out of the country, they require you to have a negative test, within 48 hours, 72 hours, something like that?
3 days. Within 72 hours.
Okay.
And again, doing global assessments for countries, and travel is a big thing right now, right? How do you get employees in and out? China right now, they're in discussions with not just the U.S., but with other Western countries of before it used to be in order to come in the country, you had to have, one of the Chinese
The visa,
vaccines.
yeah.
With they don't call it a passport. I forget what it's a QR code that they use. And now they're thinking about lifting it because, again, how do we get back to global travel? How do we get back to some type of normalization? How did we adapt? And so global passports, I think they're happening, right? Certain countries in Europe are requiring them. China requires them. So, and then again, it's not, if you are listening and you're an international traveler, both vaccines, if it's a dual vaccine, if it's a single vaccine, that's fine. If not, then you got to get show a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours. I always recommend get it within 24 hours of flying. Because you just never know if you're going to get held up, your plane breaks, whatever, weather. And then the U.S., if you're internationally traveling, doesn't matter where you're coming from, you still have to show a negative test. So, and some countries are still requiring quarantine. Canada is one of those countries. So, I know we're looking at doing some work in Canada, and it was as far as cost effectiveness goes, it wasn't worth me going up to Canada to do the work because I'd have to quarantine for 10 days in a hotel room. And most clients don't want to pay for me to sit in a hotel room and watch cops all day eating Cheetos and sweating. So it's a movie reference.
So I have you look, I picture you. Have you seen Dodgeball?
Of course, who hasn't seen Dodgeball?
Well, there's a lot of movies you haven't seen, so I have to make sure. At the very end,
if
when
it's
he's
sci-fi, I haven't seen it. Will
the very end when he's on the couch eating his Cheetos or his pizza and stuff. Yeah, I could see you after 10 days up there because I know you and me are both fat boy out. So,
especially if it's good pizza, man. Like if I got quarantined in Chicago, watch out because I'd eat Chicago pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What's that movie? Austin Powers. Right, Fat Bastard. That's probably what I look like, man. Just all over the place. So.
Poor kids that come home and you say, "Get in my belly." Yeah,
that's gross, Will. So, anyways, look, the virus isn't going away anytime soon. It's there.
It's not going to be eradicated.
So to me, is if you're going to travel, just know, the Department of State has a great website. I look at it frequently. They're actually updating some of every 6 months they update. They have to update their travel thing, their travel levels, their risk levels. So I know for China, they've updated it to a level 4. For Saudi Arabia, they've updated it to a level 4.
So for people who don't know, is that high or low?
Very high. It's a do not travel. So they're recommending do not travel right now. And that isn't just COVID. Some of it's COVID related. Department of State also has links to the CDC where they get their recommendations from the CDC. So you can go to the CDC and look at their regulations. If you're traveling to a foreign country, go to their consulate or embassy website as well, just to make sure that the Department of State is doing putting up the correct stuff. It's not always updated, so I highly recommend that. And I guess to me, I see normalcy returning.
Well, that's even if you're traveling to different states. I think Hawaii still has. If you fly to the islands, I think you still have to be in quarantine or a negative test, right? So
yeah, and they just did the vaccine passport as well. So
I don't think they can require that. They can maybe accept it, but they can't make it mandatory. It's illegal. So
there and New York have both are pushing for that right now.
Well, so, they can't, but I mean they can accept it, but they can't enforce it. If that makes sense.
Sure. The point being is just know when you're traveling, where you're going. Each state is different. I know every single airline. Again, I think the 3 major, Delta, American, and United in the last 2 weeks. All of them have a disclaimer on there, when you're booking your ticket to look. Don't be that person, right? That, no, again, do your due diligence and know what you're doing. I'm hopeful after those last 2 weeks of travel and seeing things. I think normalcy is starting to come back. Doesn't mean that, you're not going to wear a mask or other things, but I think
Yep.
you're going to, I think people are more tolerant, I guess, is what I'm seeing of the people who don't want to wear a mask. And you're not seeing as much confrontation, I guess. And that's another security thing too, that we really didn't touch on a whole lot, Will, is look, if you're a small business owner and you have employees and someone doesn't want to wear a mask, or there's a mass confrontation between two customers, let your employees need to know the law in that state, and in not just that state and in that county, and then what your policies
Or
are.
even the city, depending on the
Correct. And what your company policies are. And then it's not worth getting into a physical altercation or even a verbal altercation over it. Look, if you're an anti-mask wearer and you don't want to wear a mask, don't go into a store that requires it, right?
Yep.
If you think it's your right not to wear a mask, that's fine. But then it's also store's right. So don't be a hypocrite, in my opinion. If a store asks you to wear a mask, wear a mask. And so, you see these confrontations a little bit. It's not as much going on anymore, but these confrontations between either employees and customers, or customers and customers. Again, if if a customer doesn't want to wear a mask, you can trespass and call the police. The ones who are there to handle altercations like that. And again, you can also go online and look at de-escalation training and how to train your employees on how to de-escalate issues like that. And I think that's something that we're learning. I think seeing more and more with companies is the de-escalation process of verbally de-escalating it, with body language and everything else. So again, we're evolving, and in my opinion, there's a lot of great positives that can come out of COVID if we look at them. Again, there's a great podcast called The Best Pandemic Ever, and it talks a lot about the good that's come out of this pandemic with time and other things, technology, and how we're using technology. I mean, you and I aren't sitting in the studio right now, right? I'm using a webcam and a mic, and we're carrying this on. Companies have been doing multi-million and sometimes billion-dollar deals over, Zoom, Teams, and other technology apparatuses. So I think we're evolving and using technology a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully the security keeps up with it.
All right.
Well, yep. All right. So I think that's going to be it for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And Jake, I will talk to you later.
Sounds good, Will.
In
thanks.
Like an hour.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks everyone. We appreciate it. Hopefully next week we have an awesome guest on here. That's
trying to get him locked down. He's like he's a busy man. So
So we're working with Nate Boyer again. His schedule is nuts right now. And if not, we'll have him here in a few weeks if we don't have him next week. But I'm looking forward to that conversation. He's done a lot of good. And it's pretty interesting what he's done and how his standing up for what he believes has affected him in both a very positive way and in some negative ways. So having that conversation.
Yep, definitely. All right, man. We'll catch you later.
Later, bud.